All right, friends, it's time to give you loyal listeners a discount on protein powder. You may or may not know, but I launched my very first protein powder 2 years ago. It's a grass-fed beef isolate with only 3 ingredients: grass-fed beef, either organic cacao or organic vanilla, and organic monk fruit. Now, if you don't want any of the added flavor and sweeteners, you can also just get unflavored. And no matter what flavor you choose, you're getting over 23 grams of protein per scoop, which is going to keep you full and satisfied between meals. I love starting my day with a Fab4 smoothie and breaking my fast with that much protein. It makes a serious difference in my cravings and blood sugar balance the rest of the day, and I've seen it with my clients as well. Now, I never thought I'd own a product company, but when I got pregnant with Sebastian, I realized the majority of protein powders were chemically extracted or enzymatically extracted, and I wanted to use heat and water only. I wanted minimal ingredients because we don't need those emulsifiers, fillers, or added vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. All of those additions increase the chances that it's not going to work for your body, whether it be bloating, digestion issues. I just wanted pure, clean protein to keep you full and satisfied so you could build the most delicious Fab4 smoothie. And I have to say, I'm pretty proud of the flavor. If you take a look at our reviews on Amazon, you'll see 5-star reviews for flavor. And that is key, because if you don't love your Fab4 smoothie and you don't love drinking your protein powder, you're not going to do it. It won't become a habit, and it's consistency that outpaces everything. So if you're here and you're listening and you want to give our protein powder a try, use the code podcast5 for $5 off your order. And let me know if you love it. My favorite ways to apply this protein powder is in my Fab4 smoothie, making freezer fudge, making chocolate milk, making hot chocolate, and throwing the unflavored into all my kids' baked goods. So let me know how you use it. Let me know if you love it, and share this podcast deal with your friends. My friend Lori Harder has built 3 separate 7-figure businesses and is now moving into the next chapter, diving into the beverage industry. She's finding herself in a completely new world, mostly male-dominated, and is riding the roller coaster of navigating out-of-the-box ways to bring this historically retailed product direct to consumer. Lori founded Lite Pink, a light rosé wine spritzer and non-alcoholic rosé, in a stunning, easily portable can because she was tired of leaving networking events and gatherings without the answers, friendships, and connections she went there for. Desiring a more fulfilling drinking experience, she set out to create a beverage that tastes amazing. She has gorgeous packaging and doesn't compromise her business and health goals. Lite Pink is a low-sugar, low-calorie drink to improve social interactions, complete with 3 questions on the back of each can that can lead to more meaningful conversations. Lori's had a really humble upbringing, and she's been beaten down and got back up numerous times. I'm going to dive into a conversation with Lori to talk about what it means to be a female entrepreneur in 2022, what it looks like to raise money for your business, and what that means for you emotionally, and her tips and tricks on how to get through entrepreneurial life. Lori, I cannot believe I haven't had you on the podcast yet. We have been friends for 5 years. I've followed along with your amazing entrepreneurial journey. You're such an expert. So excited to have you here to talk about all your previous businesses and your newest business, Lite Pink.
Oh, girl, I'm so excited to be here. An expert is generous, but thank you. Yeah. I'm just, I think the more that we fail as we go, I guess we can say that now we're an expert on that failure and we're moving past it. So I'm really excited to be here because I know that you too also have just a similar path of getting out there in entrepreneurship and then products and all of the fun stuff. So this is going to be a good conversation.
It is. And you know what? I will call you an expert because if you do, it's the trials and tribulations, it's the falling, it's getting back up. Being a serial entrepreneur takes grit, and you've got that. And it started when you transitioned from the fitness world into being an entrepreneur. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's so crazy how things work. And this is what I always tell people, like, you never know what your next thing is going to be, and you never know where you're going to be next year. And you certainly do not know how much you can get done in 5 years. It's doing really big needle moving things, but it doesn't have to be like a ton of those things. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, dang, I can't believe I did that. So that's what I feel like when I look back at my journey, is like started in the fitness world. And you guys, I just want to say, like, before I even started in the fitness world, I was from a really small town in Upper Michigan, a little bit more restrictive religion. So I wasn't allowed to hang out with anyone outside of my religion, which was uniquely interesting because I had a very small tribe and put it in a small town. It's even smaller. And then I was homeschooled through high school. And I'm like, hey, two girls that I know my whole life. So when I started getting this like soul hit that I wanted to do something bigger, no idea what that actually meant. Like, I was just like, I'm supposed to do something big, but no clue. Here I am up in like this little tiny town with like, things aren't really looking good for me. Didn't graduate from high school. I say that because I'm like, anytime you can do, literally, you guys, you can do anything. So I like to sprinkle that in there. When I started to get that hit, like, okay, I want to do something. I was 18 years old and moved out of my home. I certainly didn't jump into the fitness industry right away. I went, down the path that I think a lot of people go when maybe they're looking for themselves or more restricted. So I went completely the opposite way. You let the spring go, and all of a sudden I just went crazy for a few years. And with that, that's really when I had worked out growing up because my whole family, I started my first diet at 8 years old. So whenever I talk to you, Kelly, I'm always just like, oh God, if I would have had you when I was just little, younger, and I could learn and understand because 80s, 90s, we did all that stuff like fad diets and all of the things. So I had started with fitness just like early in my life for myself. I watched my mom do workouts. I watched my sister do workouts. I did workouts, and it had been this thing that, you kind of like, it's almost like a soul awakening when you start learning a little bit about nutrition and health. And I know that this is like your jam, right? I think when we first get into fitness and health, it's like our first nudge of a spiritual awakening, or like the awakening to us, or a connection to potentially something bigger. And so I had done that kind of growing up and kind of like got in touch with what that phenomenon is, whatever people believe they're connecting to. But I was like, okay, I experienced that. So when I went off the deep end, the thing that started getting me back is I was like, I can't live this way anymore. Like, okay, I'm going to go back to that one thing that I remember growing up, that saving grace. Like I'm going to just like start to get into fitness again. And I just started working out for me. I had always like just mass consumption of fitness magazines and learning. And so with me knowing that I was on this path of, wanting to get my life together and feeling better. And also these women who were mentoring me and they didn't even know it, kind of like this podcast and what we're doing right now. They were on, back in the day, you guys, they were on covers of magazines or in books or on a news segment or something like that. So all of a sudden these women became mentors who were on covers of magazines, and that became my North Star. I was like, okay, if I change my life, I want to be able to change other people's lives, because that's kind of the cycle, right? We change our lives and then we want to pay it forward or teach it. And that's really where that started to come in. And from there, I started doing fitness competitions, but also became a personal trainer. By the way, I failed the test twice, guys. Twice, come on. Got it the third time. And from there, it was kind of just, that was the first thing I did in my life that I finished.
Wow.
That was the first thing I did that I had ever finished. So you can imagine what the conversation in my life was, in my mind was, when I failed it twice, was, you failed again, you're a loser, you never have finished anything. So when I finally finished, it was just like this moment of proof. And for me, like going back to those moments of proof, like, okay, now what else could I maybe do? And remember that like not giving up is the way to get there. So with that said, I started doing fitness competitions. I started training people. And you guys know that if you start getting into health and fitness, that it just cracks you open to a million other things and ideas. And that's when I was training different women. I opened a fitness studio. This is years later. I just want to say there was a lot in between there, but I ended up opening my own small fitness studio. And there's just a theme, you guys. You start training people, you start with health and fitness, and all of a sudden they either need more than that to kind of change their life, which in terms of nutrition, Kelly, you so know this, like we could work out all day and not change what we want to change without nutrition. But then also I was observing their social circles. If their social circles did not change, and their friends and their, if you're not having positive propaganda in your mind and who you're around, then you're not, like, you can do all the things. I can book all of the, Kelly could give me free sessions till I die. And if I don't change some major things about what I'm consuming mentally and through my mouth, then you're not going to change. And that's really where, for me, the next career of personal development, women's retreats, really trying to break through those habits and those beliefs that really hold us back. And that kind of spurred into women's events and books and all of the things. And now we're just onto something totally new, totally different.
Well, it's amazing just to watch too, because being from a small town with a restrictive religion, limited amount of friends, and having that be your starting point, and then to have this negative self-talk that you can't follow through and that you can't complete something, that negative self-talk can hold people back from so many entrepreneurial ideas, they have these ideas like, that would be cool, but that's not me. I'm a lawyer, if they are a type A, or like, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a doctor. That's not me. I work at a restaurant, or I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And they say, I'm just this, or I'm just that. And it's just that language that gets into our brains. But you said it right. You had proof. You proved to yourself that you could follow through with something and do it. And then that broke you open, and you started to observe other people's relationships. You made such a key point that it's about our social circles and the relationships that we have. How did your social circle change, and how did that impact your belief in your ability to start inspiring women on a mass scale with these retreats and conferences that you hosted?
Oh my goodness, such a good question. I kind of did it in a polarizing way. And it's kind of I guess it's a theory that people may not love, but it's also one that's proven true for me, and that I've seen over and over true for other women who was around me before, especially when I turned 18, moved out, like got hung out with the most toxic friends ever, right? We were just all toxic for each other, myself included. And I had to cut that off. I had to go cold turkey. I had to literally, I had lived on my own for a couple of years, called my parents, tail between my legs. By the way, if I moved home, there was a 9:00 curfew inflicted or put back into place. Like, this is what I was dealing with. I was like out on my own, thinking I'm totally an adult, and I want to leave because I'm realizing how toxic it is. And the only option I have, because I'm super in debt and just got myself into a ton of trouble, is to move back home. Yeah. And I just had this moment of like, oh, maybe I won't. Oh my gosh, I can't, I can't, right? Like, I can't imagine going back to that place. And I was like, but it is like it's the best, worst option. So sometimes we're not choosing between good options when we make these choices to really change our life. We are often choosing the best, worst option. And from there, it's like a ladder rung, right? It's like, what's the next ladder rung after we make this decision? Like, sometimes we think they're these big things, but oftentimes when we're down, or when we're really low, or when we don't have that self-confidence, you're just kind of just like making it and trying to do something a little bit better. That's when I realized, like, I knew that if I hung around these people, it was just too powerful. There's a saying that I've just clung to my whole life. When I heard it, in my 20s, it was, your environment is stronger than your willpower. And that was like one of the quotes I wanted to get tattooed on my body as a remembrance of, you're going to be who you hang around. You're going to become that. I think it's your financial status is pretty much the average of the 5 people you hang around. So, my friends were probably making all of, I don't know, $500 to $1,000 a month and living with each other. And I was like, yeah, accurate, very accurate. So with that said, it's kind of like, what does that look like to raise everything? And, the kind of polarizing belief is that I do believe a lot of times you're going to have to remove yourself as much as possible from the current situation. Now, that doesn't always work for people, because sometimes it's like, maybe they're married to the current situation. It's not great. Or, maybe it's been their best friend for a really long time. But I'll tell you, if it can't be solved with a really open, honest, loving conversation done with great intentions, you probably only have one other option left. And that is to make a more hasty decision to say, I gotta take care of me and I'll figure out the rest. And I promise, if you do that, I do believe the rest gets figured out if you make a choice for your higher self. Because I believe when we're in our higher self, we're in the highest good, like for everything. That will always end up coming back around and serving you in some way.
That's such a good point. And it is all about the higher self. It's like, how can you raise your vibration to be better, to give back, to leave a stamp on this world. And if you have children or spouses or family members, like they need your vibration too, because we're just sharing energy. And I can even think about the people that entrepreneurs that I know and love that have inspired me to just do it. And you said it earlier, to make not a million decisions, to make really, really like critical, like strong decisions that can absolutely change your trajectory. Super, super important. You mentioned, and I've heard you talk about how you have experience with anxiety. How do you think that's helped you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh my goodness. How has that helped me? I'm still like, God, take this away from me. But I do know it has helped me a lot. I think one of the biggest ways that it has helped me is to understand people, to share that journey of anxiety, and then to hear it reflected back to me that majority of people I talk to have it too. They're just not talking about it. Like, we don't want to walk into a room and be like, yo, bad anxiety over here, I'm freaking out. Like, that's not super like what we want to do. But instead, when we have anxiety, if you look around, especially if you're out, you're like, socially, everyone's having cocktails, probably because they're nervous, or they're, just different things that we feel that we don't say out loud. So I think the number one thing that anxiety has helped me do is actually connect with human beings. And I think that entrepreneurship is all relationships. You cannot be an entrepreneur without being good at relationships or understanding them. Like, you can, but your business, like, you might, it might not last long, or you might burn bridges, or you're going to cap out, because in the entrepreneurship world, it's literally like a bunch of free agents saying, who do I want to work with? And I have the choice. So we actually, as entrepreneurs, we get to choose who we work with, where in the workplace, sometimes you don't, or there can be a bad hire, a bad coworker, right? And so if you're a bad entrepreneur, other entrepreneurs or people they can fire you. So I do think that, anxiety has helped me relate to people. It's helped me understand people. It's helped me understand that it makes me do crazy things sometimes and react, or it makes me not show up in a way that I want. And I know that that's happening to other people as well. It's also made me learn tools. It has driven me to every personal development event that I could find. It has driven me to learn everything that I possibly could about how to overcome it. It's driven me to make sure that I'm facing small fears daily, because I do know that if you use that muscle, like facing your fears daily, even if they're small, it does get better. Like, you get so much stronger. I was just thinking that, like, the things that I do now in a day and ask, like, I did that over a 5-year period now, for real. Like, that's how much it can change. It hasn't gone away fully for me at all, but I just have the best management skills now. It's like, I've fully accepted all of the things that can come with anxiety, even if it's like, you could fall on your face, you could throw up on stage, you could look like a total moron. Okay, but if you just say, oh, I forgot what I was saying, and I'm on stage in front of 1,000 people, or I say, oh my God, anybody else get really nervous at the thought of public speaking in front of 1,000 people? Me too. Let's take a second. You guys chat amongst yourself, meet your neighbor, and I'm going to take a deep breath. Cool. I've done that. Like, it has taught me to have so much grace with myself, Kelly. Like, if I did not start to learn what it meant to have grace with myself, I can tell you that I would never have been able to get through anxiety, therefore never be able to be out in the world as an entrepreneur.
Right. Being an entrepreneur is all about these relationships. It's relying on people who have done it before you and saying, how do I fast track this? How do I build this business? What's best practices? And you have to be out in the world connecting with people to do that. It's interesting because you said you face your fears daily. And it's almost like the proof you had back when you proved to yourself that you could complete that personal training test and actually pass it. It's those little daily proofs or daily challenges that keep you flexing that muscle. What are some things you do every day to flex that muscle? You're doing it now, right? On a podcast?
Yeah, totally. I put this on my list of fun, which is surprising. I think I'm so used to it now with my podcast. I'm like, no, I get to talk to someone else. Yes. So I definitely, for me, I ask for help. I write down often. So I just started journaling this year, but what I was doing before I started journaling, like what I need to support myself, my business. And I kind of break down, what support for myself means, because when you support the entrepreneur, the person behind the business is supported. So for me, it's always like checking in, because when you're the entrepreneur or the founder, you're the heartbeat. You're downloading those ideas, you're moving it forward. You're the one who's most passionate. So if your light goes out, your team's light are going to be out super fast, literally the moment after you. So it's tough for them to carry that if their main, torch is out. I do different things like check in on, how am I feeling supported by my friends? Do I feel like I have a network that I can ask for help? Or do I feel like I'm hanging around people and women who are filling my cup up? Or have I found myself slip into a cycle of me hanging out with people that only I can really help, but they can't really give me anything in return? Now, all of these relationships are important, but they're important to be balanced. Like, I do believe, it's a beautiful thing and really powerful to play a mentor role in people's lives, but also know that there's boundaries with that, right? Like, you'll mentor 1 or 2 people for the year, or you'll give advice only in this modality. Like for me, I don't really give too much advice on social media. Tune into my podcast. Tell me what you want to hear. I'll actually do a whole podcast on it. And that modality works well for me. So the mentor role, but then also support for the entrepreneur or for myself is like, okay, I got to make sure I'm hanging around like kick-ass women who inspire me and who hold me to a higher standard. Now that shit is scary, Kelly. Like, that is like next level. When you get these opportunities, maybe you're not even invited, but you realize you could maybe keep asking them to go to lunch with you, or you could keep asking them to get on a podcast, or you could keep asking them if they'd be open to a 20-minute Zoom coffee. Those things are super important. And that's what support looks like for me in that regard. There's so many different things around health, fitness, mindset, and what I'm doing to support myself in that way.
You've always been, you joke that I should have been there for you as a kid, but you have such amazing self-care habits, like running into you at SoulCycle, running into you on Montana and LA, like after you've grabbed a healthy lunch, like you take really good care of yourself, and it shows in your business. And the success that you've had in your businesses. And I know you're very humble, and you talk about having anxiety on stage, and you talk about not passing your test, but you have 3 7-figure businesses, and you just launched Lite Pink, which is a rosé and an alcohol-free rosé beverage that is on a mission to help people communicate a little bit better and to be able to socialize in the way that they want. So you should feel really, really proud of the businesses that you've built. I know sometimes entrepreneurs don't even take a beat to be like, wow, that's my life. Oh yeah, that is my life. I did that. But you did, and you've done it, and anyone can do it. It is overcoming your fears, flexing that muscle.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that. Those reflection moments, especially with other entrepreneurs, are so special. Thank you for that.
Lori, you have built 3 7-figure businesses, and you have made a complete departure from having an online world and online businesses, from courses to podcasts to events, now into the CPG world. How did this idea of Lite Pink come about, and how long was it kind of brewing in you before you decided, like, let's make this happen?
Oh man. Okay. Love this question. So there was a place where we write down all the things that we want to do in life, right? And I had like women's event, like speaking at a large women's event. I had having my own women's event. I had writing a book. I had podcasting, and I had like a couple other smaller things on there that it was 2017. I had released my book. I did the whole book tour thing, loved it, right? It was amazing. And then, and also really hard, I had this moment like after my book, and it was the same feeling that I had when I had like I knew that I walked off the stage of Fitness Competing for the last time. And I had like just closed out the book tour, and that's for anyone who's done it, you just use every ounce of energy that you have during that time period to make sure, not only to make sure like, yeah, you want it to be successful, but also because you just want to be like, okay, I gave it my all, so that you don't feel guilty if it does well and if it doesn't. You're just like, you know what, I gave it my all, so I feel great. So I was at that place, and what was happening is I was like, oh my God, this is the first time in my life I don't know what's next. And I'll tell you that that was actually super scary. And for somebody who had replaced at this point in my life, it's so funny. We can personal development ourselves to death, but you can still have this blaring thing that you're like, no, I'm fine. I had gotten addicted to achievement because throughout really my whole life, I didn't feel validated. So a lot of the things I were doing were not only for me and a goal and because I loved them, but also a big part of it is, we all want significance. And that was a huge driver for me, was significance and validation. And so I wake up and I'm like, I did all the things. And there was still a part of me that realized, and this happened in fitness too. So it's so funny how things can repeat themselves if you don't get to the root of them. But I had realized I didn't really let myself enjoy the journey. I really, really was just in hustle mode, so often, and saying yes to so many things I didn't want to do. And I do believe there's a time period for that you have to do that to give yourself choice later. But I had extended that period by a few years, it felt like. So I woke up at this place where I didn't know what to do next. I didn't talk about this for a really long time, but I started to wake up. I was very depressed because I literally wasn't asking the right questions. Instead of asking the questions I'll share with you, I was asking, why do I feel this way? Why am I so tired? Why am I depressed? Why am I anxious? So guess what you answer when you find those things? Well, because I don't know what to do, because I don't feel this way, because I thought this was going to be the answer and it wasn't. Because instead of asking, what do I want to do? What lights me up? Who lights me up? What could be fun? What could be different? So the questions that I started asking myself, because I was you guys, I wake up early, not that early, but anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30 naturally. And at this time I was like 8, 9 o'clock. And I was like, I don't want to get out of bed. I just did not want to get out of bed. And then I think when you look successful to other people, and I was proud of that at that time, you don't share these things. And sometimes you don't even share them with your close friends. So then I'm isolating myself, feeling depressed, staying home, thinking I reached the peak and now I don't even know what to hope for. And I know this sounds all so dramatic, but I think that people need to talk about this more, because we spend our whole life setting these goals and you achieve them. And it's a very normal thing to realize that maybe you need to pivot or try something new or just rearrange your schedule, your day, or something that you're doing. And so that dug me a little bit deeper into asking this question. So Chris and I, Chris is my husband, we walk every single day. It's very rare we miss a day. It's just it's our thing. We work out all of the world's problems. So on this walk, I started asking, okay, if I had all of the time, all of the money, and all of the network in the world, any network I needed to plug into anyone, what would I be doing? What do I want my day-to-day schedule to look like? What do I love? What do I not love? What lights me up? What gives me energy? And I was like, well, I love champagne and I've always loved beverages. If you come in on my desk at any given time, I have 6 different sparkling waters. I'm the first person at the grocery store to be new brand, trying it. I just love it. I love marketing. And I was like, oh, should be a champagne or and a non-alc. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. No, you don't know anything about that. And I was like, absolutely not. People, you're in personal development, you're in all of these things. What are they going to say if you start an alcohol company? I was so it was the time during spirituality was still kind of a little more only green juice and only a yoga mat and only mala beads. Yeah. And, it's really it's very anything can be spiritual at this point, which is awesome. Very open in how you perceive it. But with that said, I started playing all of these stupid ideas. Chris and I call it, one of our friends gave us this beautiful name for it. Rob and Kim Murgatroyd, they call it stupid idea time. And it allows us to throw anything out there at any given time. We say stupid idea time, what if? And then we're like, no, okay. But it allows you to dream as big as you want. What if I could be the next Sarah Blakely, but for X? Or what if I could be, and we don't normally let ourselves say those things. Even saying it out loud, you feel I couldn't do that, or, oh, I don't want people to think I'm bragging. No, you need to do that. You need to have that space to do it. And I really think that started giving me permission to say, what's the big thing I want to do? And the big thing that started to come out, trust me. So this went on for a year, Kelly. This was a year of this question every single day. So the answer didn't come right away. I had so many different ideas. I would have had a restaurant called Brunch where women dress up like Kentucky Derby and they network. That was one of the ideas. Sounds fun though, right? Like you want to be a part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was really what started to change it. And one day I was like, I just started to notice I wanted to do something again. Like I was getting a bit of a spark back. And I also knew it was like piss or get off the pot time. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we've put all these ideas out here. You keep coming back to this one. And when I decided on it, I was like, well, I'm just going to start Googling how to start a beverage company. Started Googling that. It says you need a flavor house. What the hell is that? Okay. Then I learned about what that was. And then I found the only 3 I could find on the interweb. And then I called them all and went from there. Like it's crazy how that process is like, it sounds so stupid and basic, but that's how you start, you know? So that started the beverage company. And thank God, Kelly, that I did not know what I was getting into with licensing, with products, with supply chain, I think we started this right before, COVID and went into my fundraise of $2 million before COVID. So went through the whole thing, $2 million during COVID, which so many people said you'll never be able to do that during COVID. And we did. And then, thank you so much. Huge win that I didn't think I could do. There's so much story there, but that's really, that has been the pivot thus far. And the woman that I have become in the process is like unfathomable. Like I don't recognize who I even was before. That's how much this has been the struggle of my life, like the cocoon struggle of my life.
Thanks to our modern world, it's impossible to cut out stress, and the solution isn't to stop and avoid it, and sometimes it isn't even to add another thing to our to-do list to try and manage it, which is why I'm so excited about the revolutionary new approach to uplifting our mind, body, and soul. Just Thrive, my favorite sport-based probiotic company, has come out with a new revolutionary product called Just Calm. It's been clinically proven in multiple studies to help reduce perceived stress, balance cortisol, improve sleep quality, and even encourage focus and flow. It's unbeatable for stress management, and I have a whole podcast episode dedicated to the science behind it. What we know is a healthy gut isn't just critical for our immune system and our digestive health, but it's also one of the best ways to beat stress long term. If you are interested in trying Just Calm and adding it to your Just Thrive probiotic, you can head to justthrivehealth.com and use the code BeWellByKelly at checkout for 15% off of both products. Or you can head to justthrivehealth.com/discount/BeWellByKelly to automatically apply that discount at checkout. It is an absolute game changer. Head back to the podcast episode where I interview Karan Krishna and Tina Anderson of Just Thrive about this revolutionary new product.
Now, more than ever, it's really important that we're voting with our pocketbook. I think we can look at every decision we make as a way to support brands that are focused on our planet's health and sustainability. And in the last year and a half, I've really tried to clean out my closet. And that's when I found Vuori. So Vuori is an athleisure brand. And if you've been at school drop-off, I think 1 out of every 4 moms are wearing their performance joggers because they're really, really comfortable and they come in amazing colors. But the reason why I love Vuori so much is because they're committed to offsetting 100% of their carbon footprint, and they're focused on sustainable materials. So not only are they really high quality, beautiful, and super comfortable, but they're really focused on a healthy planet. So if you are looking for a way to gift your family members something that they're going to love, but also support brands that are focused on sustainability, Vuori should be a brand that's on your radar. And if you haven't given their clothing a chance, I recommend their performance jogger and their daily legging. And if you have a hubby, their men's core short is awesome. But I also want to support you to do that. So you're going to receive 20% off your first order and free shipping for orders over $75, and you get free returns. So all you need to do is go to vuori.com/Kelly, and you can see all of the amazing options they have. That's vuori.com/Kelly, and Vuori is spelled VUORI and .com/Kelly. And the deal you're getting is 20% off your first order and free shipping for orders over $75, and they have a free returns policy. So you can't lose by giving them a try and just feeling how soft and luxurious these sustainable clothing options are for your athleisure wear. Let's talk about some of these struggles, because I think people just assume or look at your life and say like, wow, she's this is like phenomenally successful entrepreneur with her online business, financially set and feeling comfortable in her skin. And, you know, you're beautiful and you're successful and you lead other people, but you went into the world of CPG. You decided to do a product, whether it's a little bit of grit or you're a little bit naive into what it would take to create a product and take it to market. Mm-hmm. Or whatever it is, there's got to be like a little bit of a magic sauce there, right? Of like, oh, I can just do this. I can do this. And maybe it's the proof every single day of like doing something that scares you or proving to yourself you can do it. But from where you started to where you are today, what were some of those struggles that you went through in bringing this product to market?
Oh, I'll share those because those are hot and heavy right now. So I'm in them. But also I just want to say, you know what was huge for me that made me realize I could do it is not only just are you stacking some of your wins or successes through life. And like, really, I've done full walks where I say to my husband, I have to just say everything that I've done. So I know that I can, like, I have to list out everything that I've done, like big wins, so that I can like stack and get confident today because I'm freaked out about X, or I don't feel like I can do this. Like I literally can't see myself doing it. And that's been a powerful tool for me, is like stack with somebody wins that you can do it in a journal, but it's really powerful with friends to go back and forth and make yourselves do it up to 20, 30, 50 times. Like that's next level, but you will feel totally different on the other side. But some of the challenges, so my story, especially with not graduating, is I'm terrible with numbers. That's just like, you see, I even say it right now with conviction, and I don't want that to be my story, but like, it's just true. Like I'm not great with numbers. And I was like, how am I supposed to raise money if I'm not good with numbers? Every podcast I listen to says, if you don't know your numbers, if you don't know how to do this, like you might as well give up. So I'm like, what do I need to do? And my husband's been great. He's always like, the best founders and CEOs find the people who have the skill set that they are missing. So I was like, okay, we're just going to, you know what? I'm going to run with that. And so raising money for me, I asked somebody who I knew had done a recent raise, and somebody who had started a company. And I was like, would you just be willing to get on the phone with me to kind of tell me what the heck to even start doing? He gave me a name of an amazing attorney who helped me set up my company, who kind of told me, like, helped me walk through what it should look like, how we structured it. So I definitely spent more money on structuring because I didn't know a lot of things, but I built that into how much I wanted to raise, knowing I would need more help with a lot of those questions from an attorney. So you're kind of like, it cost me more money to raise, but also because I raised a little bit more, I can delegate to more people and they can help me faster. And the name of the game in entrepreneurship for products and everything, I believe, is trying to be the first to the idea, or faster, or get it out there faster. That was a huge hump for me. And when I started to raise money, I had never done these phone calls before in my entire life. Like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to get on the phone with a total stranger. 75% of them were. They were referred to me by someone else. I'm supposed to get on the phone with them and tell them why they should give me 25, 50, 100 or more K of someone they've never met in their life. Do you know how scary that is? That was like, my heart was pounding out of my chest, every single one. And I would try to like start telling them the story. And I would sometimes feel tears because when I get really anxious, my emotions come through with freaking tears, like awkward. Do they really want to give money to the girl crying? The answer is
actually yes.
The answer is yes. And that's what I want people to hear is the more that I just accepted what came up. And if I said, I'm really emotional because this means so much to me right now, like I'm actually feeling how I felt, which is crazy right now. The more that I got in touch with my passion and just even knowing that I was not just doing this for me, this is for every woman who has anxiety, who's scared, who's like, what am I doing raising money? Why are these people? But like, I knew I had to pull through for that. And sometimes I would say stuff like that. I'm like, sorry, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm also so excited. You're only my third call that I've done. Whatever. I was so honest and transparent with where I was at. And a lot of times, my first 10 calls, I couldn't answer 80% of the questions that they had for me. And my answer the whole call, this feels embarrassing and crazy, is I don't have that answer yet, but I'll get it for you tomorrow. I don't have that answer yet, but I'll get it for you tomorrow. Imagine saying that over 10 times on a call. You're kind of like a little bit, you lose your, you're a little fizzled after that.
For sure.
And so I just had to keep saying, this is how you learn. This is the process that nobody is really talking about. And so I get on this call. So my friend has this great idea and she's amazing. I love her, but this idea was not so fun, but it was for me. And she's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to invite a ton of people onto this call and we're going to like pitch them Lite Pink. And so we do. And I show up on the call and a bunch of the women had brought their husbands on because they said, hey, we don't know about investing yet, but our husbands kind of know, or one of them says he really knows. And it was an hour of berating me, because I didn't know answers. And they're like, you think you're going to blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have these women on here and you're going to take their money. Blah. It was horrendous. And I just sat there like with tears in my eyes, like, I can't do this. This is awful. And I hung up from that call and I had 2 text messages come through of women on there that said, I'm investing because you stayed on that call. And I don't know how you did that. So literally, I didn't even answer questions. I just it was like women for women. I could just bawl my eyes out right now because it was a moment of like, one girl said, here's $50K because this call just shook me. Like, this is what's happening. And because there was no space for me to learn, you know what I mean? Or to like put anything out there. And it was a moment of, and this is not against men, this is anything. It just so happened that we had some people on who weren't invited.
Right.
So it was just, that was a really tough moment to want to keep going when some of the calls had already been that way, but this was like a group, like a large group. So that was a moment for me where it really, really shook my confidence in, God, what am I doing? Am I being irresponsible? I can't believe I'm asking for this money. And I want to just say something right there too, because this has been a huge part of my journey with understanding the difference between even the conversations between when I hear my husband with his friends who own companies, and then when I hear my female friends who maybe haven't raised money yet or started a company. And the conversations that we need to be let in on more is actually what this looks like on the inside and why it's important that we learn how to raise money to scale and grow bigger and maybe do a big vision that we don't have the money for and use other people's money, right? Because we won't be able to do it, some of them, without that. I love a good bootstrap, you guys. I did it for all of my other businesses besides this one. But the difference with that is, I listen to the conversations my husband has with his friends who have started big companies, who have exited really big, 300 million plus, some of them that I've gotten to sit in on. And they're like, I'll never start a company without other people's money, like to be able to delegate, to be able to have them, their resources, to be able to have them be a part of the company, to move faster. And, I think women are like, oh, I don't want to ask, or I don't want to do that. I'm like really scared to do that. And, I talked to, his name is Bill Glazer, who was helping mentor me with raising money. And he said, you are giving them the possibility and opportunity to be able to not only learn and be a part of something, but you are taking on all of the risk to be able to hopefully make their money grow. He was like, this is such an opportunity for them that you are creating without them essentially lifting a finger. And that was like a really large reframe for me. And not just that, he's like, I'm going to tell you all the people, I know who have lost money before, and they're fine. They're okay. They're still going. They've started a new idea where they've either made that money back or maybe they didn't. And they just make peace with it. And I was like, people can make peace with this? And that's what we need to know is there's going to be a world where maybe you raise money and you lose it all. And that is okay, because that's also normal. And that's what they know when they're going into this, is no one is ever going to give you money for an idea without knowing what the risks are. Because number one, you're going to tell them, I'd say, did you know investing in a startup is one of the most risky things that you can possibly do? You may never see this money again. That's what I say every time. And they're like, yep. Totally clear on that. I'm along for the ride. I want to learn from this. I want to be a part of something. So that's been really freeing. And I think it's very powerful because I'm already thinking of raising money for a different company while I do this, but raising enough to hire someone who runs the entire thing. So with that said, it's really opened, listen to that idea. Like, it's opened up so many different ideas for me that will include even more women and make even more money for them, where this would have been 100% closed off for me. But if you want to know more things I've bumped into, I've got plenty.
Thank you for sharing that story. I can imagine you sitting on that Zoom and feeling really overwhelmed with people peppering you with questions, especially if someone has experience. What you just said was, this is how you learn. I don't think people realize as entrepreneurs, if you're deciding to be an entrepreneur and you're taking the risk that this business might fail, the risk that you might fall flat on your face, there's a lot of emotional strength and resilience that you need to have to take those risks. But you are offering people the chance to double, triple, quadruple, exponentially grow their money in a way that putting something in the market or in a safe IRA or something is not going to do for them. I mean, this, like you said, as long as they're going in with full consent and understanding that this is an entrepreneurial business and we're going to swing for the fences and hope to hit it over, but that there's a risk there, that reframe is so important, because we as women, we carry the burden of, well, this is other people's money. This is their hard-earned money, and we're taking it on. And that is a heavy burden for us, especially with maternal instincts of taking care of our spouse or our kids or our family or, our friends. But it's the only way we learn is in the trenches. And I mean, look at the beauty that came out, the silver lining that came out of that call, where the people standing up with you, the women standing up with you and saying like, Lori, I believe in you. Like, I know you can do this. And sometimes we just need those couple people rally behind us, because look at you now. You already, it's almost like, even though you went through that, it's almost like it didn't exist, or it gave you more power and fire to say like, what's next?
Totally. I'm so grateful for it. We don't know when we can't see how we're going to be grateful for it. When I literally crawled under the desk and cried, and my husband was like, oh shit, like
what's happening?
I don't even know what to do with you right now. And I was like, but those are the things, that's what it looks like. And then people are like, you might be thinking, why in the hell would I want to start? You're making this sound terrible. But you also become this person that is like, God, the feeling of I can depend on me, and I am so clear that I create my own abundance and I create my world, whether I create a world of heaven or hell. Like, I'm just so aware that I've just had these moments where, because Kelly, exactly what you said, that we carry this burden. I probably woke up every night for 6 months once I, raised that money, or started really getting the money in, where I was like, I just couldn't breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. I felt like I was going to let people down. Then I'm making decisions out of fear. Then I'm like not even in the zone of creativity, and I'm not doing things that are best for the company. And I'm not hiring the best people because I'm afraid. Well, I didn't do that.
Saving money or something.
Yeah, but that's what we do, right? We hire the person who's new at everything because we want to save money. And then you end up not getting to go to the place that you want to go and spending more money in the long run. And it was just that moment where, you had mentioned we carry all of that. And it got to a place where I couldn't carry it anymore. It was like real bad. Like, I was like, to my husband, I was like, I don't know what I need right now, but I feel like you need to check me into a mental institute, because I can't escape the voice of like this fear of what these women are going to say, or after this, I'm never going to be able to do something if this fails. And what does that mean to someone who wants to do things, And so it was just like a lot of prayer and walking. And I was getting this like download. I know that you get them too. Like, I was just hearing this voice saying, you need to upgrade your operating system. And it was like, you need to go next level with your nutrition and like taking care of yourself, because at that time, it was like, I just noticed I started drinking a little bit more than usual. And it was just enough to take my edge off, and just enough to kind of like make me not sleep well. And what that did is, it's funny, I have an alcohol company, but I believe moderation. But I was like having a cocktail, like honestly, every day. It was like, I started coping with food and alcohol and not seeing people. I was like, it feels better to not see people because I'm so tired. So I was like, what am I doing? I know that eating right, things in moderation, not having sugar, hanging out with girlfriends who like really inspire me and support me. And so that was huge for me, that like, even as of January 1, literally I was like, I'm seeing my girlfriends twice a week. I'm journaling, I'm supporting myself in these different ways. And it just like is rocking my world, even the last, 20 days of doing it and watching how I'm like, oh, I'm back. I feel like me again. Oh, I feel super powerful. Oh, I'm really tapped in. Oh, I know I can do this. Okay. It's so fun to talk to you because I know that that even dialing the tiniest thing in like that doesn't have to be all those things. It can be one thing. And all of a sudden you do gain like a superpower or like a confidence that you can't tap into without it.
Well, you got back into flexing that muscle and showing yourself the proof. But many of us during the pandemic, whether they were starting a business, raising money and carrying that burden or not, weren't seeing their friends. They weren't going to workouts as a community. They weren't getting that like dark soul cycle room or like that, I don't know, F45, like, we're all doing these lifts together and we're being a community. We're getting lunch or dinner together. We're having coffees. We're noodling on ideas. Like that all went out the window. We were all alienated, alone, fear mongering all over the internet. And there's no money for anything. Like everything's 3 times as much money now. And it's a burden. And so to put starting your own business, raising your first, having your first raise for an entrepreneurial business on top of that and carrying the burden of, oh my goodness, everyone just gave me their money and I can't fail. That's a lot. So give yourself a little bit of grace around getting through that period because you've made it out the other end and you've also realized how to put your own oxygen mask on, which is what you need. It's that twice a week with your girlfriends. It's taking care of yourself and pulling back a little bit, having a little more moderation with your alcohol.
Yep.
So where is Lite Pink now? What do you offer? Where can people find your business? Where can they support you?
Amazing. So Lite Pink is a non-alcoholic rosé spritz and a regular rosé spritz. And it is the centerpiece for where ambitious women connect. There are 3 deeply thoughtful questions on the back of the can. And the intention is to help you figure out what you need next or to take that big leap that you want in your life and to help create the network that can do it. We are currently hoping to launch in June or July. Definitely I can say summer 2022, this summer. With that said, we have been through every wall, every delay. There's something called a candemic where just like sourcing cans, sourcing products, sourcing people, getting in line at a co-packer when all of a sudden they're like, we only want to play with the big dogs and we don't need to take a little person. There's a lot of that going on right now. It would have been so easy to give up 100 times. I do have a theory on ideas though. Like when I get an idea that makes me feel a certain way, and that feeling is super energized and light, even when you just get it and you're like, this is it. Like, I feel so good. And you keep getting it a few times and we don't get blessed with that feeling often. Like it's just going to come and it's going to burn really hot and bright. And I had that, like I had the goosebump moments multiple times. And then the vision started getting added to, and that's how I knew it was the right vision. And as I was like, oh, this won't go away. It's only getting bigger and I'm only bringing in more people into it. That's when I knew I was like, this can't fail. But what does fail mean? So with that said, that's a whole other podcast, but it's like, this can't fail. I have to do this. And that's when we brought in 54 female investors. And it's just been, whatever it looks like, I'm so excited for the launch. I just feel like it's going to be such an amazing way to bring women together and such an amazing beverage. Because it was created from a need of my own and a need of so many of the women that I was talking to. And it also educates women, right? Like we're taking them along for the ride in the journey of what this looks like to learn about investing, to launch a product, and all the things. So super excited. You can find it on Instagram at Drink Lite Pink, LITEPINK. And we really are doing a lot of different things with community. So happy hour with a mentor online that you can join, because we really want to connect you with the people that you need to launch that big vision.
It's a business with a purpose. And I think it's so fun about it is that you're playing both sides of the coin. You have your alcoholic version and your non-alcoholic version, but the questions on the back kind of feels like the old school Snapple days, or like some of the beverages where they would have like a little saying or a little riddle, or the tea bags that would give you a proverb. But crazy to think is that a lot of people aren't asking themselves these big questions because they say they don't have time and they don't make space in their day to say like, what's next for me? How am I feeling? And on this podcast, you said that you asked yourself, maybe you didn't ask the right questions when you were down in the dumps and feeling a little alienated and depressed, but you started asking yourself like really strategic questions. And just even having the space, whether it's a walk, like that walk you take with Chris every single day, needing to list all the things that you've gotten through and done right, because we always forget, or having the space to say like, I'm having this beverage and I'm reading this question because I don't even take the time to ask myself this.
Totally. It's so cool to hear you reflect it back. We've gotten the opportunity to use obviously the test cans and, give them to our different friends, bring them into different environments, kind of do like soft test launches. And people are like, I have not brought a question like this into a group. I've never like allowed myself to sit and think. I've never allowed myself to say it out loud, how I feel about this or what I need, or, what I'm working through at the moment and what it like, because we ask really intentional questions so that you get it out there. And Kelly, you couldn't be where you are today if you did not verbally speak to somebody what you needed or how you were feeling or what the vision was. And if it doesn't come out of your mouth and land on someone else's ears, it's staying inside of you and it's not going anywhere. So how do we get that up and out? And that's really what it's about. Oh, that resonates so deeply with me because I think about, as an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss telling you like, this is your deadline. You have to complete it by this day. You have this idea, great, finish it. If you don't tell your entrepreneurial friends, your spouse, like your best friend, if you don't say it on a podcast, like who's holding you accountable? You have to be able to create those artificial deadlines for yourself. And another thing that you mentioned is that these ideas come to you and they're light and they're clear and it's like bright, like that hits home for me so hard because I never wanted to create a product or never thought that there was a need for it. But it's like the minute you feel like there's a hole in a space and you're like, there is a hole here. Like I can fill this hole in a really fruitful way and have so much passion behind why I'm doing it, then it can't fail. You're right. Yeah. It can't fail. It will sell itself and people feel that passion because you care. Totally. Oh, I love that so much. It's so fun to talk to other people who have experienced it. And I know that majority of people listening have experienced it. If not, start asking yourself the questions that we asked and you will, because like you are relighting my flame, like just talking about your experience. So I love this. It's like full circle of the whole reason why I even started Lite Pink was because I want to talk to other amazing female entrepreneurs and connect with them and see what they're doing. And like, how can we help each other and how can we help the people listening? So I love that so much. Thank you for this. Yeah. Well, you've done that in, your book, A Tribe Called Bliss, your podcast, like you're constantly connecting entrepreneurs and connecting female entrepreneurs and empowering them. And you have for your whole career. So even though it's a departure into the CPG world and there's so many hurdles there, like you said, like raise the money and then find a flavor house and then find a co-packer and then find the cans and then digitally branding and then where are you going to distribute? And the questions are endless, but if you look at that whole process, if you look at that, like from deciding you're going to do it all the way through to seeing it on the shelf at a grocery store or wherever you decide to sell it, like that can be really overwhelming. But if you just take it like bite by bite and you have the people and the tribe around you to do it and you've fallen down and gotten back up so many times, if you break it up, I feel like people will have the momentum to keep doing it. Yes. So good. The whole journey. It was like, oh, she knows. No, I've been there. I've like had so many where I'm like, why did I want to have a product? Totally. No. Take me back to simple customer service. Like, I know. Totally. I'd rather be a services company now. Yeah. don't ask me to like pay for raw materials. No. I know. I've never had that. I've never even used these words. I know. But it's good. It's growth, right? Yeah. And I absolutely wouldn't give that up. Ask me even 3 months ago when we were just like hitting every wall, really thinking, maybe we won't get through this wall because of just the timing and the money and what's going on in the world and all of the things, you just got to hang in there. Like, you just can't quit so easy. That's the one thing that I would say to people is you can't quit so easy. Like, you gotta, like, you need to be, it's like right at the darkest time when you feel like you can't go anymore is when you don't get the big answer, you get a breadcrumb. But the breadcrumb is what brings you to another breadcrumb that brings you to an exciting event that brings you to a wall, and then a wall, and then a wall, and then a wall, and then a breadcrumb. And then, you know what I mean? And that's what the journey looks like. And it doesn't ever end though. It's not like once I launch, I'm like, I'm finally launched. Oh my God, look how hard it was to launch. Like, it reminds me of when I launched, or before I had gotten my book out, I was having so much trouble in the editing phase, putting it together. Like, I couldn't get it to be like, to tell the story in a flow that like made sense. And so I was stuck in this editing phase, and I would look at my bookshelf and be like, I would picture the book up there. I'm like, it will be up there. I can't see how right now, but it will. And yesterday I was holding this test can that's not quite it yet. And I was like, okay, this is just like my book, when I really was like, I don't think this baby's coming out, but I was like, I'm just going to picture it out in the world. And I just do that over and over. Like, I know it's coming. I'm going to picture it in people's hands. I'm going to picture it when someone uploads it on Instagram and they love it. I'm going to picture like it being at an event with, everyone, their girlfriends, and like just feeling like it just adds like such a beautiful piece to what they're doing of connection. And a lot of times that's what we have to cling to. We have to make up things in our mind. We have to actually visualize it, or it is really easy to be like, yeah, I don't know how this is happening. So,
right. No, you absolutely do. Well, let's earmark my book tour for 2023 and having all the Lite Pink there for all the female entrepreneurs and wellness loving ladies. You will be there.
I will be there handing out the Lite Pink.
We'll be celebrating the launch of this business. I'm so excited for you. And it has been such a long journey. And so many women are underfunded and they don't feel strong enough, confident enough to go raise money, because it is scary. Pick up the phone, dialing for dollars that people you don't know, like I don't underestimate how difficult that is, but it's in many cases the only way that you can really get a business like this off the ground, unless you're a trust fund kid or something. Like, but you have to think big, you have to envision it, and you did. And I'm so excited for its launch. So thank you for being here and sharing your story. I'm really excited to support you, Lori. So congratulations. And I'll be the first to crack a can on stories and share the love. So congratulations.
Oh my God. I love you. Thank you. You have always been such an inspiration for me. So you've definitely been someone who has blazed the trails. Thank you for the opportunity just to breathe life back into it, because this is truly how it works. Like, when you are on the journey to be able to talk to another person about your why and remember why you're doing this, it will give you all the energy you need until the next time you talk about why, right? Because when we start to forget or we lose energy, it's because we're not talking about the vision enough. We get so caught in the tactical. We get so caught in what we don't know and trying to fill roles and build teams and all the things we're not good at. So we always feel uncomfortable. That, like, being on this podcast, Kelly, it was like a huge gift, because it's just tapping into my why and getting all of that energy. So thank you. You'll send me off on a great week.
I'm happy to fire you up. The minutia is muddy. It can hold you down for sure. Yeah, totally. You gotta stay light, just like Lite Pink. Stay light.
For sure.
Keep the fire.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. Well, Lori, where can people follow along I know you're such an inspiration. Where can they feel inspired by you?
Oh my gosh, you guys. So you can go to litepink.com. We're doing so many fun things, but we hang out on Instagram, of course. Who doesn't? @drinklitepink. And then also, I am making it a goal to be consistent on TikTok on Lite Pink. So that's a whole other journey, because I'm learning how to market a business on TikTok, which everybody is saying this will be the biggest year for marketing business on TikTok. So that's what I'm reading. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going to miss out on those TikTok dollars and people.
Yeah, you bet. You have investments to double for people.
Exactly.
So get on TikTok and market your business. Leaving us with something we all can do if we're entrepreneurs and have a business to market.
Done is better than perfect. Just get something up there and we'll learn together as we go.
I love it. Thank you for being here. All of you guys at home, go follow Lori Harder, follow Lite Pink.
Thank you.
soon.